I want to dive into now I don't know if you want to say your favorite bet. You gave me a list of 3 among the crap ton of bets that you have for the round of 64 and the first 4 here in the NCAA tournament bracket. It doesn't even feel real to be breaking this down right now, man. It is.
I know, right?
It's awesome. But why don't you give me your favorite bet or one of your favorite bets here for again, the first 4 of the round of 64?
Man, this is a tough one, but I'm someone who's, I guess my whole betting strategy has always come from the information available from models, and shot quality has become kind of like my life, I guess is the best way to put it. But I still pay a lot of attention to what all the most respected models out there do. I mean, my first experience handicapping came from an aggregate, I guess semi learning model that situationally rated KenPom, Hasla, Torvik, and all that good stuff to find where their agreements best worked against the spread. So I still look at some of that stuff, and something that's kind of popping amongst all of those actually incredible models that really do set these lines now, and the market and the public fully respect, is still the San Diego State team. I mean, I'm seeing it a lot closer to 8 points, and I think San Diego State is really going to be able to take care of business against the Charleston team that has been fairly knocked by their strength of schedule, right? They were not making it if they did not win the Colonial. The Colonial hasn't been great. And some of their wins this season in the non-conference look really different in my eyes because they won them at home for the Charleston Invitational at the beginning of the season when they hosted that tournament, right? So they beat some interesting teams in the non-con, but I don't really think that they've been able to do very well on the road against this type of team. It just might be a tough challenge. I mean, I know that I've personally fallen in love with the San Diego State team before and had them going far in my brackets even before, I was professionally covering the sport. I know, I remember the pain of San Diego State teams just not going very far.
Brian Dutcher fever, man.
I know. But in this first round here, I just can't help but think that they're going to have the defense to lock it down. They don't really shoot a lot of threes, but they're super efficient at the rim. I think it's going to be tough for Charleston to handle. I just think this number is a little too short. And I think this is, Charleston had a storied season, is going to go dancing, is going to give it to them probably for a while. But, come that under 12-minute type of play in the second half, I just really like San Diego State to pull away. 5 is just not going to be enough. So I think that's a really smart play. One of my few actually for Thursday.
Okay. So great breakdown by you there. And looking at this thing, because this is going to be a pace play too. I mentioned that with Virginia and Furman. San Diego State wants to slow you down in a big way. Charleston wants to speed you up. So granted, this San Diego State defense, one of the best perimeter defenses in college basketball, and they're not really due for regression because it's interesting when you dive into defensive profiles, especially against the elite upper echelon perimeter defenses. Sometimes it's just that their opponents or they're getting lucky because their opponents are missing threes. But for the Aztecs, they pressure the ball and they don't allow clean looks. They allow very little airspace from behind the arc. And this is a Charleston team that puts up the 28th highest three-point scoring rate in the country. And then you couple that with San Diego State's ball screen defense. You mentioned how Dutcher teams are maybe underseeded or have a profile of a team that can make a run because of their elite defense. This ball screen defense for San Diego State, I would say, isn't as nearly as elite as we've seen in years past. I think the shot quality data would agree with me there. But yeah, I think the Aztecs defensively from a physicality standpoint, if they're able to control the tempo, because again, if Charleston is doing that and they're getting open looks in transition, even though they're up against an elite defense overall, then good night. Because San Diego State, it's kind of similar, just because this is the first matchup that pops into my head when you go back to when Virginia was upset by UMBC. Just going back to that Hoos team, you play at such a slow tempo that you only have so many possessions to make up for a massive deficit. So
Yeah.
With San Diego State, they rank outside of the, I think, top 100 in offensive efficiency, so around the 120 range. So I agree with you that San Diego State should theoretically control the tempo. And again, with those defensive guards with Lamont Butler and Darion Trammell, the Seattle transfer, Matt Bradley, they generate turnovers, even though Charleston doesn't turn over a ton. So, but if Charleston's controlling the pace and hitting threes, I think it's going to be tough for San Diego State's offense to make up for it.
Yeah, no, they're going to need to like methodically shut them down. Essentially, if they're able to get their looks, it's going to be tough. But we rate them as the 7th best defense in the country against off the dribble 3-pointers, which this Charleston team takes at a top 100 frequency. They love the catch and shoot threes as well. And San Diego State is used to defending that out in the Mountain West. So I think that what Charleston brings to the table is not anything that San Diego State isn't used to. And, what's really interesting is you go on our shot quality bets matchup breakdowns and you have all this like green versus red, and Charleston's actually, there's a lot of green on their defense, but it's hard to take that like seriously because think about who they were defending. Right? Like it might look like they don't allow a lot of isolation points per possession, but you got to think that they were, the positive side of the mismatch in most isolation situations in the Colonial. So like, I just don't know if they're, fully ready to go up against a team like San Diego State that has some very good defensive guards that are going to be able to take away their best weapons, that are efficient attacking the rim, that run the pick and roll effectively, that know how to get moves down low in the post to open up effective mid-range looks. And then again, they're a top 60 team in defending the 3-point shot. So if Charleston's going to need those threes, I think this San Diego State team is one that might be able to take away their lifeline. So that's what type of stuff I look for. The models love it. Efficiency models love it. It's interesting to me that this one's still sitting at 4.5, 5s in some places, but yeah, I took the 4.5.